What made you choose to do a second business?
कोई छोटी सी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए सिर्फ एक टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए. अगर ऑफिस बनाना एक प्रोजेक्ट ना हो के प्रोडक्ट हो जाए, सच इजी प्रॉब्लम टू सॉल्व. कोई ना कोई जो सबसे बड़ा प्लेयर होता है वो 5% या 7% उस बिजनेस का होता है.
तो आपने गलती क्यों की VC फंडिंग लेने की?
Some startup has raised some money, it's like he is successful.
Being a founder also means dealing with failure, dealing with rejection. How do you deal with failure or rejection?
जिस प्रॉब्लम को हम प्रॉब्लम समझ रहे हैं वो प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है, एक्चुअली प्रॉब्लम कुछ और है.
So Tushaar, welcome to Lunchbreak with Lightspeed.
Thank you.
So let's start with a very important question. What is Officebanao?
So Officebanao is simple, like, to make your office, how we make your journey easy. So it can be start from design, then product, then maybe tomorrow we'll be helping you to manage the office. And ये प्रॉब्लम पता है कहाँ से शुरू राहुल? जब मैं पुरानी कंपनी में जब कभी दूसरी सिटी में काम करना पड़ता था, it was very hard to find a graphic designer or maybe a very simple like ये डोर कहाँ से मिलेगा, ये सामान कहाँ से. I saw that it's a huge problem, and that's the idea who helped me to build this business. Because आप किसी भी नई सिटी में जाओ, आपको अगर अपना ऑफिस बनाना तो सोचो कि इतने फॉरेनर्स इंडिया में आके अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं. हाउ दे फाइंड इट? लाइक दे ट्रस्ट ओनली 2-3 कंपनीज, दोज हू एडवाइज देम एंड दे गो विद देम. बट देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल दोज आर लुकिंग फॉर सॉल्यूशन. लॉट ऑफ इंडियन बिजनेसमैन लुक एट द सॉल्यूशन. So that was the idea, and I tell you, most of the people get misconception about the office. Okay, we are only building the offices. No, any contractor, any architect, anybody who's making office need materials. मैं एक छोटी सी like आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ. कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को काम करने के लिए एक ऑफिस बनाने के लिए 300 प्रोडक्ट खरीदने होते हैं, 300 सामान खरीदने होते हैं. कम से कम 25 या 30 सप्लायर देते हैं, और उन 25-30 सप्लायर से आपको 30-25-30 बार ट्रांजेक्शन करना होता है. इतने ट्रांजेक्शंस को मैनेज करने के लिए आपको अकाउंटेंट चाहिए, आपको प्रोक्योरमेंट के लोग चाहिए, मैनेज करने के लिए GRN करने के लिए चाहिए स्टोर. अरे यार, आपको एक छोटी सी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए सिर्फ एक टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए जहां पे आप सारा सामान इकट्ठा करके खरीद सको. आपको 10 फोन नहीं करने, आपको सामान मिल जाए. दैट इज ऑफिसबानाओ. वी आर सॉल्विंग प्रॉब्लम बाय नॉट मेकिंग एवरी ऑफिस बाय आवरसेल्फ. But at the same time, we are here to get 10,000 contractors in such a big country. We can solve their problem and they can solve your problem.
You spent the first 15 years of your career building a very big, very profitable business, 300 crores and more. Why are you doing the second business? What made you choose to do a second business?
The first business which I made took almost 12-13 years. And I see, after a point, I see that there is something not taking this business to X to 5X or 3X or 10X, and then there is way you can scale your business. There is something which I could not do. You need right people, you need right technology. And I think in my business, like a $50 billion, which is increasing 20%. India is like hub of large service sector companies, and every day there's a huge business. I saw that there's a great opportunity, and it has to be handled with different ways. So one business who's making profit but not making scale, okay, that scale which really very immense and very big. So it gave me a very good idea, mindset, and instead of doing something new when you have something already existing and you know the playbook, why not to do it differently? So that's how I started Officebanao.
A great thought process. But you were a profit making business. You could have bootstrapped this business also. तो आपने गलती क्यों की VC फंडिंग लेने की?
90% people's views it's a mistake, But fortunately, I was having a lot of good friends, a lot of people around me, and then I understood that VC is not only money; it is about ecosystem, and it is like a package. You get money, but how to use that money, you also get the playbook. People, those who have disrupted or those who have done multiple businesses from multiple angles, they give you some different mindset. They give you structure how to convert your business from a regular business to a MIS-based business. You get a lot of answerability, you get an ecosystem, you get a right talent. So I think if you get a VC on board, then you get a not only goal, but you get a right roadmap also, how to achieve that. I feel like it's a great mistake I have done.
Good you say that. But let's say, let's dial back 5 years. आप उस टाइम पे bootstrap founder थे, अच्छा बड़ा business है, सब ठीक चल रहा है. And a lot of startups were beginning to become very big in the market. I'm sure you would meet through YPO or through other connections a lot of people who've become startup founders and who've taken on VC money, but were also burning a lot of money, right? When you used to meet them, what would you think?
I started Officebanao. My view was very different. I was fascinated because media is covering them. You are giving like $1 billion of perspective, numbers. And then, I was thinking something great is happening. Something is a different, like, some startup has raised some money, it's like he's successful. Or maybe like the startup is successful. Raising money is again a symbol of success. People take this that way, but there are a lot of other things. They think, a lot of founders when I meet, I see that they think about the problem very differently. In general, मेरे से कई बार लोग पूछते हैं कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और बिजनेस में क्या फर्क होता है. बिजनेस का कोर प्रिंसिपल ही प्रॉफिट है. मतलब आप कोई बिजनेस कर रहे हो तो उसका कोर प्रिंसिपल है कि उसमें प्रॉफिट होना चाहिए. एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप उस बिजनेस को नॉर्मल तरीके से करने के बजाय आप कैसे एक एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी तरीके से करते हो. हाउ यू मेक इट लाइक मोर इनोवेटिव, हाउ यू मेक इट लाइक द वे. इट इज माई डेफिनेशन. व्हेन यू कम टू स्टार्टअप, that those two principles should be there, but the third principle should be there, that how you change the way of doing it. You are investing today to get outcome tomorrow, but there should be a clear roadmap. आज अगर मैं इतना सेल्स और मार्केटिंग पे खर्च कर रहा हूँ या मैं कस्टमर एक्विजिशन पे खर्च कर रहा हूँ, यार कभी ना कभी तो कन्वर्ट होगा. सो आई थिंक इट्स अ मिक्स ऑफ बिजनेस, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप और द इनोवेटिव वेज ऑफ डूइंग इट. सो but Jetworks, like, it's a very good company. Those who have completely disrupted the manufacturing problem. Zomato is like, everybody need food on demand. They're really solving the real problem.
So it's now been almost 2 years since you started Officebanao, and we partnered together, and it's a partnership that I'm glad to say is going very strong. But 2 years into building a business that you are building in a very different way. It's a venture funded business, like you said. अब क्या लगता है आपको? 2 साल हो गए, 2 साल में क्या नया सीखा आपने? 2 साल में क्या नया किया आपने जिसको आपको देख के अब लगता है हाँ मेरी डिसीजन सही थी?
तो एक तो ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ गया for sure. But I'll tell you the fundamental, I'll just joke about, but I think when you are doing your business by yourself, you are owner of profit and loss, okay? You are not answerable to anybody else. And then you are making everything for yourself, okay? Or you are losing something from your pocket. That's a different kind of mindset. But when you are answerable to somebody else is not only your investor, your people, like, the people, those who are joining you, they're joining not only you, they are joining the ecosystem. Somebody has invested in you, they trusted you, and that's why they join. The customer is also coming to you, that some companies there, some structures there. So I personally feel in last 2 years, I'm more responsible. I think I was responsible, but I'm more responsible for others also. And I feel there is a structure, the way month on month, quarter on quarter, there are like a lot of metrics which I never thought the business should be evaluated. I'm following those metrics. In my previous business, I always thinking that, if I'm signing the check, I'm the most intelligent person who's like looking at everything. But today, the whole business is running and people are running. There are like people, those who can do much smarter work than you. They are much intelligent than you. So I think that is trusting others more than my intelligence and my gut feeling. I think that is one thing which I've learned in last 2 years. And second thing, my conviction on this business is more and more from earlier. And that is the reason is very simple, that now the way of looking at things is completely changed. I don't look at with my gut feeling or my thought process and मैंने सोच लिया घर से निकल के आया ऐसा होगा, ऐसा नहीं होता. I put things on table. I take little other advice, because somehow you are answerable to your investor, your employees, your people, everybody, and that answerability make you awake.
Very nice. Okay, आपने एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ बोली, जो आपने बोला कि हाँ there are multiple people who build companies different ways. I am a first generation entrepreneur. तो थोड़ा let's step back. Tell me about your background, your family background. आपने अपनी family से क्या सीखा? First आप कब entrepreneur बने?
I born and brought up in a small village, and basic education till 12th happened over there. So my first entrepreneurship was to renting a bicycle, because I wanted to buy a good bicycle, and my father has given me like 1,000 rupees, and the cycle उस time पे Hero cycle 2,500 रुपए की होती थी. मैंने कहा यार okay, let me do something else. So I just borrowed money from here and there, and I was like using that cycle for 1 hour just in the evening, and rest of the time my friends were ready to take that bicycle for like on rent. I thought it's a good business model, clear the whole debt. Then another very successful business I did. कॉमिक्स, मेरे को कॉमिक्स पढ़ने का बहुत शौक था. तो कॉमिक्स महंगी आती थी. सो आई यूज टू गेट लाइक 10-15 कॉमिक्स फ्रॉम डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर भरतपुर, एंड देन आई गेट द कॉमिक्स ऑन रेंट फ्रॉम भरतपुर, एंड आई रेंट इट ऑन माई विलेज. सो जो जितना मैं रेंट वहाँ देता था उससे 3 गुना रेंट में यहाँ कैप्चर कर लेते. इट वाज अ गुड बिजनेस मॉडल. सो फंडामेंटली आई लर्न समथिंग फ्रॉम माई फैमिली. आप दोनों साइड वैल्यू बना सकते हो. उस कॉमिक्स वाले के लिए वो पुरानी कॉमिक्स उसके लिए पुरानी हो गई, वहाँ पे रोज उसको कोई रेंट पे नहीं लेता. उसको 10 दिन मेरे को उसी प्राइस पे देने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। और यहाँ पे जो दूसरे लोग हैं जिनको वो कॉमिक्स पढ़नी है, उनके पास वो अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है। सो यू आर fulfilling your hobby, but both the side you are making value. So that is one thing. But there was like one very good thing which I learned from my family, the credibility. Credibility is the core essence of your life. But my grandfather used to tell me कि आपके पास पैसे आपने किसी से उधार लिया, आज आप नहीं दे सकते, तो आप उसके पास आगे से जाके बोलोगे मेरे को 2 दिन एक्स्ट्रा लगेंगे, he will be more happy. आप किसी दूसरे से लाके उसको पैसे दे दो, लेकिन आपकी कमिटमेंट फेल नहीं होनी चाहिए. If you build credibility with your customer, with your suppliers, the people, those who around you, your friends, I think in school, like, so मेरे दादाजी हमेशा मेरे को बहुत अच्छी बात बोलते थे कि स्कूल में ना बेटा, जब जो अगर तुम्हारे दोस्त तुम्हारे ऊपर ट्रस्ट करना शुरू कर दें तो दुनिया में सब लोग धीरे धीरे आप पे ट्रस्ट करते हैं, क्योंकि वो those friends are your brand ambassador. Those people, those who are around you are a brand ambassador. One thing which I feel like is helping me today also, the credibility, which I tell every employee of my company when I meet first time or I'm inducting them in our company, that was even like the junior most employee in my company, if they commit to anything to customer or supplier, it is owned as it is. In our company, one principle which you can't compromise is credibility.
And I think that's very interesting, because even when we were investing and we were chatting at that time to some of your customers, one of the interesting things that we heard from your customers was that in this business it is a given कि डिले होगा मेरा प्रोजेक्ट, बट पॉइंट ये नहीं है कि मेरा प्रोजेक्ट डिले हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. पॉइंट इज जो सामने बैठा है वो ओन कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है, और वो मेरे को कमिट कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है, दैट येस आई विल, इफ आई एम कमिटिंग टू यू, आई विल स्टिक टू अ टाइमलाइन और नॉट. एंड आई थिंक दैट इटसेल्फ इज लाइक अ बिग डिफरेंस.
I see a lot of people stop taking calls, stop talking your supplier. But I personally feel like if you face the situation and tell them that this is happening and the delay is for 3 days, 4 days, 90% time people just, they understand that. And if you are giving false commitment and you are not able to meet that, maybe somebody lose a very big business, or maybe some business is on risk. So your commitment should be owned, or if you are not owning the commitment, at least let them prepare for that delay or difference or something. So I think we teach, I personally tell my all colleagues or my friends or my कि boss, अगर आपसे कुछ नहीं हो रहा है तो आप उसे एक बार कम से कम कन्वे तो करो. So that also build your credibility with the customer, that I'm not running from my promises.
Wonderful. So 15 years ago is when you first quit DLF and you started your first business, right? Now it's your second business. सेम थ्रिल है, सेम फीलिंग है सेकेंड बिजनेस बिल्ड करते हुए, या क्या डिफरेंट फीलिंग है?
बड़ी अच्छी एक बात है कि जब आपके पास कुछ लूज करने के लिए नहीं होता ना, तो आपका काम करने का स्टाइल बहुत अलग होता है. बिकॉज यू आर लाइक इनसेन, लाइक यू आर टेकिंग डिसीजंस रैंडमली एंड देन क्योंकि कुछ लूज करने के लिए नहीं, सब कुछ गेन ही करना है. बट टुडे व्हेन आफ्टर 10-15 years, आई थिंक माई थ्रिल, आई वुड से, इज मोर, बिकॉज दैट टाइम इट वॉज अ नीड बेस्ड डिसीजन, नॉट अ थॉट बेस्ड डिसीजन. Need means you're more responsible now. It is not you only. Your employees are like 400, 500 employees, those who are working, investors, those who have invested, suppliers, those who are building their profile with you, clients, those who trust you. So I think you have thrill, you have excitement, but same time you have a lot of responsibility and a lot of answerability also.
But being a founder also means dealing with failure, dealing with rejection. How do you deal with failure or rejection, and how have you learned to deal with it?
So in my views, I think I'm very lucky that I have many rejections, and in your fraternity, like I think
My
a lot of
fraternity.
VCs have rejected very gracefully. And then I think, but I would say that rejection in everybody's life is very important. And I'm not giving just like I've been rejected from the college, and then I got the next a very good college. Okay, I've been rejected from a lot of social public forums, or like maybe, and I thought like the next thing which I got is like amazing. Okay, I think rejections are very important in our life, personally, professionally. And there are 2 thoughts you get after rejection. One is like, boss, ये कैसे मेरे को reject कर सकता है, ये ऐसे कैसे हो गया? And second thought you immediately get that why I'm rejected, why I'm not able to get into this situation or this and वो जो होता है ना कि, so generally I tell a lot of people, when you are rejected by something, don't get enemy with the person, or don't think about that person who has rejected you. Think about that situation and what situation is you been rejected, and just change that situation. And failure, Rahul, in my views, like if you want to go very big, your product failure, your idea failure, your business some failure is very, very important, because every failure you give you a new way of thinking.
Very good. So maybe let's jump from that to building Officebanao, and I'll tell you why I'm connecting failure here. I think a lot of companies have attempted to build in the category of, let's loosely call it construction, home improvement, renovations, etc. Right? And I think one of the things that we have noticed when we were evaluating the market is that most of these companies have either taken too long to scale or they have not scaled that much, right? When you were attempting this, आप क्या सोच रहे थे? You would have also been looking at some of these examples in the market, right? What were you thinking, and what made you feel that this time it will be different?
So in my views, these kind of ideas, like when you, the core solid, problems, or maybe like core solid business, this kind of problem, like where like design is involved, where the construction is involved, then there are like, post-construction services are involved, and every problem is like a big problem itself, okay? Connecting all the problems together, it's like a much larger problem, and then it is, Rahul, I personally feel, जब problem बड़ी होती है ना, the opportunity बहुत बड़ी होती है. I personally feel in my business, what I saw first time when I was in DLF, I saw that there is a lot of demand, but there is very less professional people those who can solve it. And because people those who can solve it, they are not willing to, or they are not around that problem, because they feel like it's a very small problem, why should I get into this? So that time, most of the civil engineers, architects wanted to do something bigger. They don't want to get into the fit-out business, but business is very big. Today, if I see overall $50 billion business growing by 20%, almost like 3.5 lakh square, like any other business, automobile or any other business if we see, कोई ना कोई जो सबसे बड़ा प्लेयर होता है, वो 5% या 7% उस बिजनेस का होता है. आप टेलीकॉम में उठा लो, ऑटोमोबाइल में उठा लो.
There is usually a dominant market share.
डोमिनेंट मार्केट शेयर एक आदमी के पास होता है. इस पूरे फिट आउट बिजनेस में पहले तो मार्केट का शेयर कितना है, मतलब काफ़ी प्लेयर्स को नहीं पता होगा. और कोई भी बड़े से बड़ा प्लेयर इंडिया में आज भी, आई थिंक 1000 करोड़, और मे बी लाइक आई वुड से not 100 million, bigger than 100 million. People, those who are, and again, I have a highest respect for them, that 25 years, 30 years, 35 years, but they are not able to cross 1,000 crores. So there is some fundamental thing you have to crack. My mind opened when I went to Harvard कि हर चीज़ को देखने का नज़रिया थोड़ा अलग हो सकता है. जिस प्रॉब्लम को हम प्रॉब्लम समझ रहे हैं वो प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है, एक्चुअली प्रॉब्लम कुछ और है. तो हमारे बिजनेस में ज़्यादातर लोग सेल्स पे फोकस करते हैं. अब इतने बड़े मार्केट में है, इतना फ्रेगमेंटेड मार्केट है, वो 30% मार्केट में एंटरप्राइज बिजनेस है, 90% प्लेयर उसी की तरफ भाग रहे हैं. तो 70% फ्रेगमेंटेड बिजनेस, जो कस्टमर आपको ढूंढ रहा है, जो कस्टमर को जो अच्छी डिलीवरी चाहिए, उसकी तरफ आप जाते ही नहीं, कोई वो छोटा बिजनेस है. सो पीपल आर ग्रोइंग इन अ वेरी, तो जैसे जैसे कंपनी के रिसोर्स शॉर्ट होते हैं, जैसे उसकी एक्यूमेंट कम होता जाता है, वो कहता है मैं बड़े ऑर्डर्स करूंगा, मैं इतने प्रॉफिट पे करूंगा. दे डोंट हैव एनी अदर वे टू सॉल्व दैट. इन माई व्यूज, India is a growing economy. Like every city is like a small country itself. A lot of aspiration, a lot of ambitions, a lot of entrepreneurs are coming. हर किसी को ऑफिस चाहिए. अब ऑफिस बनाने के लिए कोई, अगर आप ऑफिस बनाने के लिए टाइम बहुत लगता है, इतनी स्किल्स नहीं होती. सो अगर आपके पास, आपको पता है कि सप्लाई कम है और मतलब डिमांड ज़्यादा है, तो यू लुक एट सम अदर वेज, देन लाइक यू स्टार्टेड डूइंग सम अदर वेज. सो इन दिस सेक्टर आई थिंक स्किल इज अ वेरी बिग इशू. टैलेंट इज अ वेरी बिग इशू. एंड देन बिजनेस की तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं. तो आई पर्सनली फील जितना एक कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है, इसमें इतनी अपॉर्चुनिटी है. एंड इसको सॉल्व करने का तरीका थोड़ा डिफरेंट है. इसमें आपको टेक्नोलॉजी किसी ने अप्लाई नहीं की है. आप बताओ कितने हमारी इंडस्ट्री में लोग होंगे जो IIM और IIT के लोग होंगे जिस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करें. मैक्सिमम पीपल आर लाइक एंड एक्चुअली एम्बिशन ही नहीं है. कितने आर्किटेक्ट्स इंडिया में अगर मैं उठा के देखूँ जो 20 साल के एक्सपीरियंस के बाद 1 करोड़ रुपये का पैकेज होगा, हार्डली, बिकॉज एम्बिशंस ही नहीं है. Nobody has thought this business as a business. It's a large business actually. So I see a very huge potential opportunity, and the customer is not a problem. Finding customer is very easy. Solving the problem and delivering on time with the right choices, multiple choices, and that customer experience like you are buying a car. You are not building office. Like अगर ऑफिस बनाना एक प्रोजेक्ट ना हो के प्रोडक्ट हो जाए, such a easy problem to solve. I think we are looking at this problem very differently, but it can be solved by technology, and there are like similar problems being solved.
So productizing a service business.
Service business.
Right.
And you need not to do everything. Every customer is not your customer. So one very good learning which I learned from Harvard, that you have to define your customer. You should know your customer. Every customer is not a right customer for you. And sometimes when we say India kind of economy, we're like, the cost is most important. एक बड़ा अच्छा मैं एक दिन पॉडकास्ट सुन रहा था कि अगर इंडिया में दो ही तरह से बिजनेस हो सकता है, या तो सेम कॉस्ट में आप बहुत अच्छी क्वालिटी दे दो, या सेम क्वालिटी बहुत कम कॉस्ट में दे दो. These are the two formula in India, and I personally believe. And how can it happen? When too much human intervention, you just remove the human intervention, use the machine, then cost can be, or either you use the technology to enhance the customer experience. So we are working on we are enhancing the customer experience and we are reducing the cost also. But at the same time, I think the देसी तड़का is like the credibility. जो आप बोलो वो करके दो, जो आप बोलो वो सर्विस आप कस्टमर को दो. And I think वो सर्विस इंडस्ट्री में अगर प्रोडक्ट वाला एक्सपीरियंस आ जाए, तो it can be, and I think we have solved in last 2 years. Today we are having a very interesting problem, very good problem. We have more customers, but less supply. So we are actually last 2 years we are solving a supply problem, not the demand problem.
Very interesting. That, and you know, that I think is very counterintuitive. Linked to that, what is the one thing about OB which when you tell either investors or potential employees, they are very surprised to hear कि अरे ये क्या है?
Any good architect will give you 3 options. Maybe like 3 options, I'm saying more, like 1 or 2 options, and then 3D takes like 10,000 rupees, 7 days time. When I interact with a customer, my team can show them 10,000 type of the meeting rooms. So very simple that, there are like, एक meeting room को बनाने के जितने भी तरीके हो सकते हैं, अगर मैं उस data structure को technology से convert करके आपको वो variations दिखा दूं, it is very much possible. ये gaming industry में हुआ है, काफी सारी industry में हुआ है. ये हमने दूसरा, अगर हम आज बात करें, जब भी मेरे से कोई इन्वेस्टर बात करता है, which I think you also had the same, यार ये ग्रो कैसे होगा बिजनेस, स्केल कैसे होगा, कस्टमर को आप हमारे ऑफिस बनाने कम से कम 100 कस्टमर के होंगे. प्रॉब्लम होती हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि सर्विस के प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आते, क्वालिटी के प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आते. अगर आप उसके ऊपर आपका राइट एटीट्यूड है कि ये सॉल्व करके देनी है और आप कस्टमर से भाग नहीं करो, आप कस्टमर के पीछे भाग रहे हो कि बताओ ना क्या प्रॉब्लम है, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाती है. दूसरी बात क्या है कि टेक्नोलॉजी का टच ऐसे बिजनेस में अभी 5% भी नहीं हुआ है, विच वी आर trying to use 70% technology and 30% rest of the things. So I personally feel ki, so again, like a lot of investors ask me, it's a very person heavy business, it's a very process heavy business, how will it solve? Arey baba, or other businesses will not give you that much of, it's a negative cash flow business. You need not to do very extraordinary investment in the business. You need to only invest in the process, technology and people. That's all.
Wonderful. So Tushar, एक बहुत important चीज़ जहाँ पे हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं साथ में इज़ अबाउट बिल्डिंग द टीम. सो आई एम क्यूरियस, व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स अबाउट बिल्डिंग द टीम?
Most crucial role is building the team, getting the right people together. So in my previous business, it took 12-13 years because I was building the team, because people are not ready to join small businesses. Now fortunately, because the startup world, people join startup world because they have some VCs or फाउंडर्स अब लोग ज्वाइन करने लगे हैं. मेरे टाइम में जब 2010-11 में जब मैंने ज्वाइन बिजनेस शुरू किया, तो लोग टीम छोटी कंपनीज को ज्वाइन नहीं करते थे. इट इज नॉट दैट पीपल ज्वाइन यू ज्वाइन पीपल, एंड देन यू फ्लोट योर आइडियाज, एंड यू हैव टू बिल्ड क्रेडिबिलिटी अराउंड योर आइडियाज. इफ यू आर सेइंग समथिंग, you have to be passionate, you have to be delivering right information, and then you will. So in first company I built my team by keeping anybody is my client side, my friends from my school, college, I got everybody together with me. Those who are, fit for that particular job. So you have to keep watching people around you, those who are good, those who are creative, those who are authentic, those who are, credible. And it is not necessary that they are fit into that job perfectly. It's a skill, as I rightly said, that you can build that. So in Officebanao, again, I think the hardest part for me right now is building the team. Getting the right people, and then they do whatever they can do. And I think I applied the same formula. I looked at around me in my circles, like wherever I went, wherever I going here and there, and you find the key stakeholders, and then they get the further team. But if you ask me, in a day, 20% time I'm looking good people around, me, and then hiring them or, motivating them. Kai baar, like Swati, my wife, keep telling me that, you are not taking interviews, you are giving interviews, you know. So in building, while
It
I'm...
is a two-way process.
But
it is absolutely
yeah,
a two-way
like, you know, the good
process.
people, those who are not from your industry, those who are really more intelligent than you, they are doing much better in their life. Convincing them to join your idea is a task. It is like a pitching every day.
Yeah.
I think pitching to investor is much easier than pitching to your, you know, potential, team.
Yeah. So just to wrap things up, Tushar, what is your grand vision for Officebanao?
In my vision, 5 years, such a big country, such a large TAM, such an interesting problem. If anybody want to make office, want to design or build or want to buy a product, the first choice, or maybe like in the top first choice, the Officebanao should be there. तो कहते हैं ना, सेल कहता है कि हर किसी की जिंदगी में सेल है, चाहे आप हवाई जहाज में बैठो या पिन. तो ऐसे ही कोई आदमी जो इंडिया में बिजनेस करता हो और उसको बिजनेस के लिए एक प्लेस बनाना हो, जिसे वर्क प्लेस कहते हैं, ऑफिस बनाओ, उसकी लाइफ में होना ही चाहिए. दैट इज द, एंड इट शुड बी सो क्रेडिबल ब्रांड कि अगर मेरी टीम अगर बोले कि इतने दिन में होगा और इतनी कॉस्ट में होगा, तो दोनों में ही कोई वेरिएशन नहीं होना चाहिए. सो इट शुड बी अ वेरी क्रेडिबल, ट्रस्टेड, इनोवेटिव ब्रांड विच सॉल्व योर ऑफिस मेकिंग प्रॉब्लम एंड मेक इट ईजी.
Wonderful.